Hello and welcome to The Economic Lens. I'm your host, Krish Mehta, and I'm excited to have you join me here as we explore the realm of business, economics, and finance. As a high school student passionate about understanding what makes businesses thrive, we have created this podcast to connect you with brilliant mind behind today's successful enterprises. I'm delighted to welcome you to the third episode of our series, Retail and Tech Giants Blueprints for Success. And just like our previous episodes, we'll be conversing with some of the most accomplished CEOs, founders, MDs, and industry leaders in retail and tech. These are the innovators shaping the future with their groundbreaking strategies, unique perspectives, and exceptional growth. So we'll delve into their journeys, uncovering the challenges they've overcome and the exceptional visionary thinking that drives their success. So without further ado, let's introduce our very special guest here today, Mr. Venu Nair, and an absolute veteran, in the retail industry who's had a remarkable amount of experience, having been the MD of ShopperStops, MD of Marks and Spencers, and the CEO of Westside, and is now currently working at Myntra. So, having someone with such an amazing background, sir, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here with us and educating our audience with your experience. So, with that being said, I think we'll jump right into the podcast. So, I think first let's just talk about a little about your career journey. It's amazing to see that over the last 3 decades in the retail industry, you've held various positions of CEOs and MD, and some of the best retail companies like Marks and Spencers and ShopperStop. So, what was your career journey like, and what helped you become so successful over the years? Specifically, was there a set of critical incidents which have shaped your journey and learnings which can, I guess you'd say, inspire people, young people like me?
Hey Krish, thanks for having me. I'm delighted to be on your podcast and quite delighted also to see you doing something like this. I think it's fantastic for just using this platform forum to not just get views from various people, various leaders, but also get learnings for yourself. So brilliant. Uh, in terms of my own journey, I've had a fairly interesting career for myself. And I think if I were to look back and when I started my career, would I have thought that this is where I would reach and which I would end up with? Probably not. I don't think I'm the kind of person who plans way forward in terms of what I would like to do. But at the same time, I was always clear that I do want to excel in whatever I do and want to do well. And I think that was pretty much the starting point. And I started off after and I did my engineering, worked for a couple of years as an engineer, quickly realized that's not what excites me. Uh, Got into SPJN for my MBA, and from there I joined out and then started off in sales and marketing. And it was, when I started off way back, and it was a different world to what it is today. But when I look back and when I look at the key points in the career, in my career, what have shaped it, I think it has been about, uh, first and foremost, I would say, being uh, being ambitious about where you want to get to, and always looking, always looking forward, looking to grow your own career. And I think for me, the first break, if I can call it that, was when Arvind uh, chose to move me to London. And it was a big
Mm,
jump from doing sales and marketing in the south of India to being moved to do sales into all of Europe for a fairly fledgling division of Aravind at that point in time. It was a new division, new venture, and to pretty much go from India to Europe
mm,
first. It was a big leap in the sense that not only had I to sell whatever we were, the product itself, but also the company itself, and even more than the company, the country, because India itself was not as well known in the world as
right.
it is today,
Mm,
and India had a very different face. So I think that was the first break that I got. The second one for me was when again I made a big decision to move back from London after having been in London for 8 years. Chose to move my career from being in sales and marketing to moving to buying and sourcing, which was a completely new area for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a choice I made. I thought for me to progress my career, I need to know all aspects of business and not just being one dimensional in terms of sales and marketing. And I took a call to not just move from sales and marketing into buying and merchandising and sourcing, but also move geographies from London back to
Mm-hmm.
India and to set up something absolutely brand new. I think that was the second big career break. The third one for me was when again uh, I actively pursued and moved back into the front end, but this time into retail. And as the managing director for Marks and Spencer Alliance, which was a joint venture for
Mm-hmm.
M&S in India and with Reliance Retail. And that again was shifting gears, shifting functions, and pretty much going into a completely new area. And each time you do that, I think, uh, of course, this happened because I was eager, I wanted to do those things, and I actively worked towards getting those roles. More importantly, it was also about being open to learning. And I think that's something which
Mm-hmm.
makes a big
Correct.
difference. So each time I have moved, moved roles, and it's something which I have constantly done in terms of trying to do something different every 3 to 5 years because I've
Okay.
always believed that it is very important to keep learning, to stay fresh, and to also be able to perform at a very optimum level.
Mm-hmm. Understood. Understood. So you keep saying keep learning. I think that's great advice, for high schoolers like me. So I guess moving to your leadership style a little bit, as a leader who's transitioned through, as you said, multiple prominent roles in the retail sector, how would you go ahead and define what your leadership style would be, and what do you believe are the key qualities of, an effective leader in this industry? Is there like a specific set of qualities that you look for in the people who you lead as well? So how do you define this leadership style of yours?
I think over a period of time, my leadership philosophy has evolved, and but a few things don't change. And whenever I take on a new role or I'm into a new job itself, first it's about setting the long-term vision for whatever that role is. Doesn't matter what that, whether it's uh, the head of a business or head of a function or even head of a sub function. The important thing is to have a long-term vision which is aligned with the goals of the organization itself. And from the long-term vision, formulate the strategy
Hmm.
for your team. And that's something which I always try and do with my team so that it's it's consensual and you get the buy-in of all of the people around it. Once the vision is set, strategy is set, from that you get a clear objectives of what each team member has to do to achieve what you have to do.
Hmm.
So I think that's the way I would go about in terms any new job that I would do, or even at the beginning of the new year, that's the way I would go about it. Once that
Hmm.
is done, then it is about having clear KPIs as to how you measure your performance against the objectives and goals that you have set for yourself and for the team. Having regular communication and making sure that the team's working together and playing as a team. I think that's very, very important for me.
Hmm.
Team dynamics play a very, very pivotal role with the right people in the right roles being absolutely crucial.
Hmm.
Over time, you develop a sense of the kind of people you are looking for within a team. And for me, the one thing that I would prioritize over all else when I look to add or bring in a new member into the team is attitude. I think
Hmm.
if the attitude is right, everything else can be taught.
Hmm.
After the second important trait is the ability to work with people and be effective team players. And that's, I think, equally significant, maybe just below attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Functional expertise comes third. It's important, but it does not surpass the significance of having the right attitude and being team players.
Mm-hmm. Right, right. Understood. So, right, you talk about a lot of qualities there. And also you keep mentioning how your leadership style has evolved. So, talking a little bit more about leadership over here, were there any mentors or, key figures who've significantly influenced your career path and, leadership style? Because you've been through multiple companies. And I mean, you said your leadership style has evolved as well. So, has there been a key set of figures that have been instrumental in shaping this leadership style of yours, or how exactly would you define that?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I have been lucky and fortunate to have had some excellent mentors at various stages of my career, and I would call out a few. The first mentor I would say was right at the beginning of my career, Mr. Krishnamurthy, who was at that time the sales head and president of sales for Arvind, and
Okay.
literally he was the first boss, a super boss that I had at that time. And
Hmm.
I mean, that's also a very impressionable age when you're young and you're
Exactly. Yeah.
looking up to leaders. And he was definitely somebody who made a big difference in terms of uh, being somebody I would look up to and adapted and adopted a lot of leadership styles and practices that he had. I mean, I think what I learned from him was speed of decision making, building relationships, and having a disproportionate focus on execution rather than just contemplating or discussing things. So I think those were the three things which I learned from him in the initial stages of my career. The second person who, again, I was fortunate to, and this was when I was working for Marks and Spencer and Christian Hundal, who was the head of technology and sourcing and started off as being uh, a sort of guide, but then later on
Hmm.
became my boss
Hmm.
as well. And he was somebody who I learned quite a bit in my years at M&S. And when I look back, what I learned from him and what impressed me the most was his vision, always thinking long term and thinking big.
Hmm.
He was not somebody who would ever look at what's happening tomorrow or what's happening next month. It was all about having a much longer term vision in terms of doing something which would make a significant impact on the
Hmm.
business rather than doing small things. And I think it's also important at the phase of your career when these things happen.
Hmm.
Krishnamurti, at the beginning, when you're doing a much more functional role, and that's where execution becomes very important. As you grow into leadership and more senior roles, you have to have a longer term vision and also look at how you're leading the organization for into the future rather than just focusing on the here and now. The third person who I have been lucky to work with and has been a huge influence is Mr. Sriram Srinivasan, who was one of the first presidents of Madura Garments and
Hmm.
also the visionary behind Reliance Retail as it is today.
Hmm.
Sriram was a member of the M&S Reliance board during my tenure there, and somebody who I worked with very closely over the 5 years when I was the MD for MSR. And from Sriram, when I look back, what did I learn from him? It was about again balance. I mean, understanding the business model, you're understanding your brand, understanding the business model of the brand, and adapting that for the country. I mean, it's an international brand, M&S,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
bringing it to India and adapting M&S without losing the essence of M&S, the brand itself for the country was something which he helped me, in a big way to adapt and uh, nurture the brand into the success that it became here in the country.
Hmm. Hmm. Right. Understood. So yeah, you talked about adapting, adaptation, because obviously you're managing right now, as Myntra operates currently. It is a well-known fact that it houses an extraordinary amount of brands. So the concept of building this global partnership, becomes very important because, like you said, adapting is something that you've learned because you're managing international brands across countries, and I guess that helps you nurture the companies into the success that they become right now. So building more onto that, what would you say are the key factors in building and maintaining these successful global partnerships? And how do these partnerships, benefit Myntra? Because, like you said, you've learned to adapt across countries, the company across countries, and it's become an international brand. So again, these global partnerships are very important. So how would you say are what would you say are the key factors in maintaining these successful global partnerships?
Myntra is one of the largest uh,
Right,
fashion and lifestyle players in the country today. As a
right.
company, we have over 60 million active users, and
Mm-hmm.
we cater to the premium and mid segment of the market. And it's a huge spectrum, and it's a large number of customers that we cater to and we delight. And the segment of the affluent customer of ours who's looking to have more get exposed to international brands. I mean, today I think it's obviously today's customer is exposed to everything that's happening in the world pretty much at the same minute,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to have the same set of brands that they would see in the West or in the developed countries. And these international brands that we have on Myntra fulfill that need of our customer. What's important to have these partnerships is about making sure that a bit like what I talked about Marks and Spencer, making sure that you fit the brand for the country and
Okay.
make sure that you're adapting the brand without losing the ethos of the brand, without losing the essence of the brand, to adapt it for India and grow, establish the brand for what it stands for. Each brand has its own DNA, each brand has its own positioning. And maintaining
Mm-hmm.
that positioning is very, very important. And we've had a number of successful brand relationships that have been built over a period of time at Myntra. And that has been possible because of the fact that you ensure that the brand gets established in the country, in the right position, in the right, uh, having the right segment of the market being catered to, and fulfilling the needs of the customers for that.
Mm-hmm. Understood, understood. So I guess moving on to uh, omnichannel, one of the buzzwords that I've personally been hearing on, recently. So being the chief of strategic partnerships and omnichannel at Myntra, how do you actually go ahead and integrate online and offline retail strategies to create, a seamless customer experience? Is there a specific plan you follow? Is it something that you've picked up from uh, other brands and companies that you've worked for, or is it something completely independent that you've developed here at Myntra? How do you go about establishing this omni-channel?
Uh, I think omnichannel is the way forward for retail as a whole, and it's something that started a few years back, and it's gaining momentum week by week,
Right.
month by month, and will continue to do that. And that's because if you look at the way the customer shops today, uh, pretty much earlier they would go into a mall, walk into a store, look around, and then make the decision of what to purchase, what to buy. That has changed dramatically in the last 5 to 10 years
Mm-hmm.
because most journeys today start on a screen, either on the
Mm-hmm.
phone or on a laptop. So, for a brand to be in the consideration set of the customer, it is very important that you're you're there at that particular moment when they are starting to browse for whatever they need, whether
Mm-hmm.
it is a dress for an occasion or whether it is an outfit for regular wear. So the digital presence is absolutely vital, and that's where Myntra has excelled. Where what it has managed to do is to get close to the customer and pretty much fulfill the entire need of the customer on the platform, so that they can see what they want to buy. They can look at the various angles from, I mean, have different views of the product, look at the sizing, look at the features of the product, I mean, of the raw materials and so on and so forth. And also a number of innovative tools that we have got, which helps the customer in making their choice in terms of whether it is Fashion GPT, Maya, the stylist. All of these help the customer to be able to get different views
Mm-hmm.
of what they are looking for. Uh, After that, it is, and again, making that custom journey absolutely seamless, where on Myntra they can, with the click of a button, place your order, and it's there for you. And it'll arrive in the fastest possible time. And again, speed is of essence, and that becomes quite crucial. And at the same time, the return journey as well, in case they choose to exchange or want to make a return, make it completely seamless. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
first part of it. But equally, for the customer, the ability to also go physical and buy something offline if that's what they want to do. And the way Myntra has partnered with a number of brands, and over we have today over 4,500 stores of various brands that are linked to the Myntra platform, so that the inventory which is in these stores is exposed on the platform, and
Mm-hmm.
the customer is able to get a much wider choice, and at the same time
Right.
closer to where you are, so that the platform will look at where you're browsing from and where you want the product to be delivered, and look for a store close to that, so that you're able, I mean, the choice is made for the customer from a location closest and is hence able to be delivered at a much faster speed. So that's the way
Mm-hmm.
we've started that whole journey. And this is only getting more and more stronger as you go forward. And I think that's the future for retail. It's neither online or offline, it will be omni-channel. And that's the way customers will shop.
Right, right. Understood. So those are some great innovations, I'd say. And would there be any other innovations as far as Myntra is concerned, that Myntra's implemented recently, to help uh, customers? Because there's various things that companies are starting to do. They're marketing different goods online in a very, very different way that has not been seen, in because we've moved from this, we've seen the rise of e-commerce, and that's brought multiple innovations. So with this rise of e-commerce, has there been any other very significant innovation that either you've seen in other companies and looking to implement now, or Myntra's implemented, that you've seen has completely changed the game? Has there been any sort of crucial innovation like that?
I think one of the hallmarks of uh, Myntra as an organization is the constant innovation that we keep
Hmm.
doing. And as a digital first company, as a company which is bringing all channels together, and at the same time bringing in specialized fashion experience, which is trend driven and it's consultative and experience driven. We bring in a rich experience for the customer, having a number of tools that assist the customer to shop. And it's in a number of areas, whether it is
Hmm.
in just bringing trend and using the data and information that we would have to discover trend and bring it into onto the customer and be the first to do that. So I think that's the first thing that we do. The other thing we do is personalization, and personalization is something that uh, has taken, I mean, has been continuously being improved, where effectively the customer on the app, on the Myntra app,
Hmm.
is shown products and brands which is what they would like to look at. And
Correct.
that information is gathered based on the customer's browsing history, purchasing history, so that depending on if you are looking for premium products, that's what you would get to show. If you are a deal seeker, it'll be a different set of brands that you would be shown. So that becomes quite, and there's a lot of uh, algos that are there at the back, which drives this and makes that happen. So that each customer gets a different
Hmm.
view to what somebody else, and what you're seeing on the Myntra app would be very different to what I'm seeing, because
Correct,
your
correct.
likes and tastes would be very different. And I think that's something which is quite unique and makes a big difference in terms of being really close to the customer and showing them, offering them what they want. The Fashion GPT is the other thing which I talked about, and that's a
Hmm.
chat GPT based recommendation tool for natural language queries. And it has over 1 million users, and we
Okay.
see 80% repeat rates from there. My Stylist is something else again, which is an AI based real time outfit builder. So here it offers suggestions for a complete outfit rather than a product. And it could be an outfit for an occasion that you're looking for. I mean, you could effectively say, I'm going for a board meeting in Delhi.
Hmm.
Please suggest what should I buy? Or I'm going to play badminton today evening. What should I wear? And it gives you the complete output from the t-shirt to the shorts to the shoes to the socks, all of it together. And
Hmm.
that's something which is again quite unique, and we're proud of having innovated. And these are just
Hmm.
a few examples. I mean, there are so many different things that we are constantly doing and constantly improving. And
Right.
that's really a big foundation, a big differentiator for the business.
Hmm. Understood. Understood. So I guess pivoting a little bit to something that has been very, very debated recently, sustainability. One of the most debated topics in any industry. So obviously it is a growing concern in retail, and we constantly see, the pressure being placed on large brands and companies about fast fashion and its dramatic impact. So uh, as a company, how does Myntra housing an extraordinary amount of brands approach this move from fast fashion to more sustainable fashion? Are there a key set of policies that you've implemented to ensure that it's green?
Sustainability is very, very important for all businesses. And I think we at Myntra uh, take that very, very seriously and
Hmm.
are taking a lot of big, bold steps in that direction. And if I were to just give you a few examples to make the point, first and foremost, I mean, one of the large uh, places where there was a lot of waste being generated was in packaging. And we've
Hmm.
now moved all of our packaging to sustainable sources. Essentially, we use
Okay.
paper so that it is recyclable and reduces the overall waste in the system by making it recycled. Uh, we've reduced the uh, usage of power in our building itself, and the entire building is the office that Myntra has is a LEED certified platinum rated, which is the highest rating possible. And
Okay.
it took a lot of effort to get to that, and that's something which we moved to over a period of time. As a group, we are endeavoring to move to electric vehicles by 2030 completely, so that all of our deliveries would
Okay.
be through EVs. So that's the third, and those are just a few examples of what Myntra is doing. And the fourth thing is in terms of products that we sell, moving towards sustainable raw materials wherever we can. And that's something where we are at the beginning of the journey, and we want to take that forward as we go forward.
Right. Understood. Understood. So I guess a follow-up to that would be, we see this very dramatic trend on consumer consciousness as far as sustainability is concerned that we didn't see, a few years back. We see that like a number of consumers completely change the way they shop, what brands they shop at, just based on the simple fact that if it's green or not, if it's eco-friendly or not. So we've seen this uh a new consumer market being formed, who's filled with people who are completely eco-friendly. And there's been various surveys conducted online, and you find some astonishing facts. How one of the facts that I was recently reading was that 57% of consumers have made a very significant change to as when they receive information that, oh, this company is not green. So they form this completely different consumer market, which completely and solely focuses on buying brands that are only eco-friendly. So as Myntra, do you market your products in the app as well as something that's eco-friendly to cater to this very, eco-friendly sensitive consumers? Because it's become quite a fad, we see companies being in the news. Like as soon as you see companies come in the news for, like, say, greenwashing, which is something we've started hearing recently, consumers have completely stopped buying from that brand. That's something that's recently started happening. So do you as Myntra, like, advocate this eco-friendly sort of approach? Do you make it known? Do you make it very known that, oh, the products we're selling are eco-friendly? How do you go about that?
I think the sustainability and larger piece, environmental social governance or ESG, is gaining importance in the country now. ESG from a business perspective and sustainability and uh, the awareness of green, eco-friendly consciousness is coming in with the customers. And we obviously have to cater to our customers. And we, as I said just a few minutes back, we are one of the more
Mm-hmm.
conscious businesses in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something which we will continue to progress as we go forward and make that even bigger. I think today's consumer is definitely, and especially the Gen Z customer, is
Exactly.
very aware of. I mean, while they want fashion, they also want it to be sustainable. They want it to
Mm-hmm.
be eco-friendly and not causing harm to the environment. And that's something which is absolutely fantastic because I think that's really essential for the world that we live in. And this awareness is starting to come into India now, whereas it has been already there in the Western world. And if you look at a number of brands that we partner and the ones that we work with, they are already way ahead on the journey. And that obviously gives us
Mm-hmm.
a leg up because these brands that we sell on the platform are very ahead in that journey in terms of having sustainable raw materials, having reducing waste in their ecosystems, and hence having eco attributes on their product. And that's something which we will amplify as we go forward.
Mm-hmm. Right. Understood. So I guess, yeah, key insights learned there, about sustainability. So I guess pivoting again a little bit about something a little more abstract, when you recruit young talent in your company, as a very important leader in your company, you obviously look for a key set of qualities. What would you say, except from, attitude, like you mentioned previously, are there any other key qualities that you look for as someone who's joined the company? Like when you're hiring, I think that would be something that would be very useful to individuals like me, in high school. Would there be a specific set of qualities that, or something that you'd really, really expect from them when they join the company?
Yeah, I think it would vary to some extent based on the role that you are recruiting for and what you look for that specific role. But certain things which don't change and you absolutely look for. First, and I mean, I did talk about attitude, and I think
Right,
that's
right,
that's all
right.
the most important. The second one, I think, is the learning, the learning agility, if I were to call it. How eager is the person to learn and adapt? No two jobs are the same, no two roles are the same. It
Correct.
varies, and you have to understand the nuances of the job. You have to learn the role. And even if you have been an expert in one business or within the company, if you're moving from one function to other, you will have to change and you'll have to learn. If you're moving jobs or moving companies itself, again, there is quite a bit of learning and equally unlearning required. So
Mm-hmm.
learning agility is the second thing that I would look for. The third thing would be in terms of the digital awareness. And I think today that becomes quite crucial that
Okay.
every person that you're looking for is digitally aware and willing to adapt to the changes that happen in the digital world. And I think since Krish is specifically asked about young people like yourselves, I think the new generation has to by default be open to skilling and reskilling because
Right.
I think the I mean in a way when I started my career, people would get onto one role and just grow in that role. I mean, somebody
Mm-hmm.
joined to sales, and a number of people I know who just moved up vertically in sales all the way and became heads of their business or heads of their function or whatever they became. Uh, in the what has changed over the last few years, and with the advances in technology, with AI coming in, jobs itself fundamentally change in the way they are done. And
Okay.
that skilling and reskilling will be very, very important. And hence, the ability to learn and keep acquiring new skills as you go forward will be crucial. So, coming back to the question, I think attitude, learning agility, uh, digital awareness, and finally, and this is something more, I think, how grounded the person is. I mean, you don't want somebody who's
Mm-hmm.
so full of themselves that they are not able to work with a team. And
Correct,
being a
correct.
team player, I think, becomes equally important. So I think those are the general traits. Beyond that, of course, you look for functional expertise, depending on the role that you're looking for, whether the person has the expertise to be able to do their job, because that's what you're recruiting the person for. So that's par for the course that you have to do
Mm-hmm.
in terms of assessing the functional capability of the individual.
Right, right. So I guess, yeah, to wrap things up, a final question, you know, as a whole, what advice would you give to young individuals like myself, who may aspire to pursue a career in retail or e-commerce? Any uh golden, set of advice or feedback that you would give as a whole to finally wrap things up?
I don't know if I would call it golden, but what I would tell the young, advise the youngsters coming into the business today. It's a very cliched uh, phrase, but retail is all about detail, and that doesn't
Okay.
change. It is
Okay.
absolutely true. It is about literally going line by line in terms of whether
Mm-hmm.
it is, if it is a merchandising, it is about looking at the range, garment by garment, putting it together, if you're in the product area, and so on and so forth. Uh, as you start your career, I think excelling in your function, in what you do, is absolutely important. Understand what what are the key deliverables of that role. If you're on a sales role, it is about ensuring that you're delighting your customer. And if you're on the front end in the stores, it is about doing that little bit extra for the customer, which will delight
Mm-hmm.
them.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, a simple example of when a customer says, "Where do I find the menswear?" Most people would say, "Just walk there." Versus walking the customer to that place
Mm.
is a great
Right.
example of how you're delighting the customer.
Mm. Understood.
So that's the first. I mean, as you are young, excel in what you do. Go beyond what is expected to delight your customer, and be ambitious and look for how you will grow your career. Every 3 years, I would say 2 to 3 years, you should be looking to either move up or move diagonally. And don't just look at growing vertically. Always be
Mm-hmm.
open to moving diagonally, moving laterally, so that you're also learning new things and you get a perspective of the entire organization, which then puts you in prime position to take on leadership roles as you go forward.
Right, right. Understood. So retail is all about detail. Definitely a quote that I'm going to be remembering and using in the future. So yeah, I guess that wraps up another extremely valuable third episode of The Economic Lens. I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to our incredible guest, Mr. Venu, for, uh, you know, as someone who's had such a successful career journey, it's definitely been an amazing episode because of, you've had one of the most experienced names as far as fashion retail is concerned. So I hope his journey was as interesting to our viewers as it was to me. And to all our listeners, thank you for tuning in. I hope, again, you found today's conversation as enlightening as I did. Again, Mr. Nitin, we're grateful for your time and for sharing your perspective with us. So thank you all, and we'll see you next time.